Hi everybody. So we are going to do one last little unit. It's not even a unit, it's 2 days. It's basically just this week where we're going to be looking at right triangles, but there are the special right triangles. So start by doing the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side for this triangle. So we are missing our hypotenuse, so C. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 5 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. 25 plus 25 is 50. So then to solve, we take the square root. Now notice I do not want a decimal answer. So let's go back. Remember, how do you simplify a square root? So we're going to write down everything that multiplies to 50. 1 times 50. 2 times 25. 3 doesn't go into 50. 4 doesn't go into 50. 5 times 10. And that's it. And then 25 is our perfect square. So we're going to rewrite 50 as 2 times 25. The square root of 2 times the square root of 25. And then, so that's square root of 2 times 5. So C is 5 root 2. So this is 5 root 2. All right, now look at this triangle. What kind of triangle is this? It is isosceles. So today our focus is an isosceles right triangle, right? Because these are both 5s, it's got to be isosceles. So that means these are actually 45, right? Because 180 minus 90 is 90, 90 divided by 2. All right, so same process. I want you to find the missing side using the Pythagorean theorem for number 1. It's exactly what we just did. 8 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 64 plus 64, 128. And then we're going to simplify. 128 is 1 times 128. 2 times 64. Notice, and that's actually our perfect square, is 64. So notice this is really similar to the do now. Root 2 times 8, so 8 root 2. Now look back at your do now. What do you notice? So this one, we're finding our angle. So we can do trig with this one if you want. So we have our hypotenuse. We have our opposite. We have our adjacent. So we get cosine, right? Cosine of x equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Do our inverse, cosine minus 1, 5 over 5 root 2, and you get 45. Also, if we did Pythagorean theorem, we would get this is a 5. So because it's a right triangle with 5s, we automatically know that's 45 degrees. Okay, so when you have a 45, 45, 90 triangle, and again, we know that because these two sides are the same, it's x, x, x root 2. Right? The do now was 5, 5, 5 root 2, and then the problem on the previous page was 8, 8, 8 root 2. So it's the same thing over and over again. So anytime we have these two angles are 45, x, x, x root 2. And it all comes from that Pythagorean theorem that we just did. All right, so without doing any work, what is x and what is y? Well, my hypotenuse, so if this is 12, y is 12, which means the hypotenuse is 12 root 2. And you're done. The second one, pause the video. What do you think x and y are going to be? Well, this is my hypotenuse. This is x root 2. So the x has to be 8. So this is 8, and this is 8. Done. So a lot of these, you can really just do them in your head, right? There's not a lot of work to do. We're going to get to some harder ones where you have to think a little bit harder, but overall, that's it. All right, so now this one's a little harder. So instead of x root 2, here's what I'm going to do. Let's do a root 2. Okay? So if this side is 6 root 3, right? That means that this side, because these are equal, so y is also 6 root 3. My hypotenuse is the side times root 2. So it's 6 root 3 times root 2. Because it's always the side times root 2. So if we simplify that, 6 root 6. That's it. Now, number 5 is the hard one. You ready? So our hypotenuse is 7. So a root 2 equals 7. So what does a have to be then? Well, I'm going to divide both sides by root 2. 7 over root 2. Remember, you're not allowed to leave it like that, so we're going to rationalize our denominator. Root 2. So we get 7 root 2 over 2. So both x is 7 root 2 over 2, and y is 7 root 2 over 2. So we take our basic formula triangle, and we set the hypotenuse equal and solve. All right, last slide. I want you to try these on your own. All right, so because we have that 45 degrees, since this bottom leg is 9 root 5, this is also 9 root 5. Your hypotenuse, y, is going to be 9 root 5 times root 2. So that's 9 root 10. Right, done. We set our hypotenuse for 7 equal to a root 2. And we're going to solve for a. This one's actually a little easier. Divide by root 2 on both sides. So because this has a root, both of these are under a square root, we're allowed to divide them. So 11, oops, my pen turned off, root 3. So x is 11 root 3, and y is 11 root 3. And that's it. All right. All right. I found this meme. I love Parks and Recreation, so I put that in there. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well. All right. Email me if you have questions. Don't forget our class meet tomorrow. Bye.